I wish I just had one of those whistles. Because he'd be here right now. The side of the road barking. It's not my fault. Because if you knew them, if you really knew them, you would know that I'm not the one that needs a friggin' shrink.
Look!
Alright, and we're back with the Tracey Fragments. Alright. Examining this character of Tracey, I think I would I have to say that, like I said in the past video, she is incredibly honest. I mean, the character herself is just so powerful, and she could be a role model. I mean, anytime I'm feeling bad, every time I'm feeling alone, I pop in this and I don't feel so alone. She is every girl, every normal girl out there that feels like shit, that feels dirty, that regrets, that wants to just take her skin off. And it really just gets that intense. Wanted to talk about some scenes in this movie. I think that the one that most people will probably be confused about would be the therapy scenes, because a lot of people aren't really sure about this. The therapy scenes, I believe, occur in her mind, because it's like a white room. I think it's just her recalling what what went down, and it's just this whole big mess. It's like you have to put it together in your mind. So let's put it together. I'm gonna put it together, and I'm gonna tell you what happened. All right. So somehow it starts off in some way with I guess you can say Tracey in school. She sees a new boy, then she tries to dress up for that new boy, and then she decides, okay. She comes back, and after these girls, make fun of her because it's the girl with no tits, as they call her in the movie, because she's a little flat-chested. But yeah, so she goes back home. Her father says to her, oh, what do you want to do? End up raped? Murdered? And she's like, yeah, why not, And it's like, oh, you're grounded 2 months, or whatever the fuck. And throughout that time, I'm guessing that she hypnotized her little brother to be this sort of, dog. And the father gets pissed, and then she goes off, and she takes him with him, and he follows. It wasn't like she said, oh, come with me. But yeah, he follows. His brother's name is Sonny. And he decides, she decides that she's just going to let him, run off. They play a little bit. So she's standing there smoking a cigarette. And then Billy Zero comes around, and it's like the classic, if you, when the crush comes over, you're like, oh, you're almost entranced. You almost suckered in to doing whatever. So he invites her into her car, in his car, by the way. And it's like this, he kisses her, and she's like in shock. It's like almost like her first kiss, you can almost imagine. And then he just goes off, and I guess he does have sex with her. Whether or not that's consensual, or whether or not it was just one of those, oh shit, what's happening? Like one of those, moments where you're so in shock by what's happening that you don't even respond to it. And the most fucked up part of that is that he just pushes her out of the car when she tries to touch him. And by that time, Sonny is gone. And can you imagine what is going through her mind right now? One, she just lost her virginity to this guy who's a total asshole. Whether, it's like, it didn't even mean anything. She was just used. Secondly, this guy, the little boy, just lost her brother. Everything just went to shit for her. She's like, just broken. She comes home, father's pissed off. He's like, where's Sonny? The police come and she doesn't know. She doesn't want to tell. She doesn't want to tell how he got lost. I guess because she's ashamed, you know, of what just went down. And she feels that guilt because, hello, she just, like, shit, I was fucking some guy. Well, can't say if she was fucking him. I mean, more like he was fucking her. And then my fucking brother just, like, disappeared. And so she feels totally responsible for that. So she decides, okay, I'm going to go off on my own and I'm gonna hit that bus. And that's what she does. She hits the bus, she goes to coffee shops, da da da, and she starts searching for him. And she does not sleep that well at all. You know, she's just all over the place, searching for her brother, going up to anybody. I mean, total complete strangers, and just searching for her brother. And throughout all this, she's going back in the past, talking about everyone that makes fun of her. You know, she says, went to school, made a mistake, you know, with no tits, you know, stuff like that, you know. And she goes talking about her therapist. Therapist says she has borderline personality disorder. And she's like, I'm not the one who needs a fucking shrink. Remember when two retards had a baby? Well, that was me, stuff like that. It's really sarcastic, but it's like dark comedy. And it makes you laugh, but at the same time, it's just so heartfelt and it's so emotional. All right, now that we're coming towards what really goes down, I don't know whether or not this was a fantasy or not, but this is the most confusing part. So supposedly, whether or not it's fantasy or not, well, the first fantasy she really does have is about her and Billy Zero, and she's actually telling you about it. You know, saying stuff like, "Oh, he stuck his cock in me, and he told me he loved me at the same fucking time." You know, stuff like that that really just gets to you. And she actually makes a thing like the necklace that she supposedly got from her brother was from Billy. And it's kind of weird because you could see how much she wished he meant to her in a way. You could see that she wished he loved her like her brother did, you know? Like, like that he would give her something. And his brother's a fucking retard. Who the fuck knows where he got that shit from? He's only like, what, 5 years old, 7 years old? And, okay, so she obviously has fantasies about her and Billy Zero being together. But it's just fantasies. It's not real. But also, just like I said, a confusing part is when she's waking up at the side of an alleyway, and this guy named Lance from Toronto, comes up and decides, hey, I'm going to be Superman and take this girl home. And he does. But before that happens, I think that they go to a bar and he gets into a fight. But at the same time, he says, I never heard of fly, and he gets beat up. So I don't know if that really did happen. Maybe that didn't happen. That was probably just a fantasy. See how you have to use your mind with this movie? It's confusing sometimes. Alright, so we're there in Lance's apartment. Things go down, like he picks up a fucking bird, and she's like, oh, they won't accept it because you just touched it or whatever. So she has this whole thing about alienation, that the bird won't be able to go into its natural habitat. And in a way, you can take that back and you can say, now that she's been, you know, basically deflowered, she can never go back to who she was. She's a totally different person. You could say that about it, maybe. You don't know. You can always make assumptions. All right, since this is going down to like almost a 10-minute mark, I'm gonna save the conclusion of this for the next video. So remember, we're up to Lance in the fucking apartment. Now, I know that I'm spoiling it, but there are spoilers, and I tell you, like, there's no way to, like, go through this movie and not say what happened, because it is that confusing, and everything that I've been telling you is how I deduced it, in that order. I believe it's that order, and I'm trying to tell you what I think is fantasy and what's not fantasy. If you've seen the movie, hey, let's talk about it. But let's be back for the conclusion.